Again, as a reminder, any question, please turn on your mic and say something, or if you raise your hand or something like that, I can hear you. Got it? If you have any question, please say something. I can hear you. Okay, so in other words, when we're dealing with chapter 2.3 models and applications, most of the time that we're going to be spending would be understanding mathematical language and how things are written and how we are supposed to be understanding them and so on. So as an example, let's go ahead at 48. I think that's a good size. I said, that's what I said, right? Yes, no. Okay, so did I say write it in symbolic language? Nope. But everybody wrote the symbolic language, right? So nothing wrong. We'll try, there were some minor errors, but nothing wrong converting, which means, in other words, most of the time the panic starts when it comes to math is when we're dealing with word problems. In word problems, like, okay, as soon as we see word problems, you know, I hate word problems. I don't understand word problems. I don't like to do word problems. And whatever anxiety that kicks in, half of it can be just like you can knock it out. If I can understand it, I can write it, which means I said something, you heard it, and you translated from word language into symbolic language, which means what you just said was, or what you guys wrote, as I was looking at it, it says, you said, I know symbol for this. 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 And I know symbol for this, which is correct. So one was word language, the other one was a symbolic language, right? So once we are a little bit okay and we're not afraid of how to use mathematical language and symbolic language, I think word problems will be a little bit easier. The next one over here says 4 less than 13 is 9. And I know symbol for this. I don't think anybody did less than sign. Let me just, okay, everybody did subtraction sign. Okay, less than, I know subtraction. 13 is 9. Somebody give me over here, is this true or false?
Symbolic statement is false because it would be -9.
The symbolic language is false, not because this was supposed to be a -9. It is false because the way it was translated was wrong. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, I am almost 6 foot. If I say this statement, is this true or false? If I say I am taller than, is that true or false? Again, I am almost 6 feet tall. And if I say I am taller than, is that true or false? All right, I need people to talk. False. Why? If I say I am taller than Shaq, then that would be false because everybody knows Shaq is almost a 7 foot tall, right? So even though I refer to Shaq later, when I say I am, you will take my height and you're going to compare it to somebody, even though that person's name is mentioned later. Does that make sense? So in other words, over here, when we are coming to this type of problem, it's like for less than who? The other thing or the other person must exist for me to take away the for. So it says for less than, order matters over here, order flips. This should have been written as 13 take away 4 is equal to 9 would be the correct way to write it. So there are in mathematics and word translations, we have to be very careful with some lingo, how it is written, and what are the appropriate ways how to convert them. So some things are straightforward. Some things that are, when we are reading them, we have to be able to see if it is something that is scrambled in the way it is written. So there are, as an example right here, if in word translation or in a word problem, if I see the word add altogether, and both combined, how many in all, how much in all, increased by, plus, sum, together, total. If I see those kind of words, I know they are asking about addition sign. If they are talking about change, the decreased by, difference, fewer or fewer than, how many are left or have left, or how many did not have, how many more or how much longer, shorter, how much taller, how much heavier, um, less or less than, lost, minus, need to, reduce, remain, subtract, take away. These, if you see those kind of word, then it should remind you that we are talking about subtraction. The next one would be if I see by, which means, let's say the area of a rectangle is a certain width by a certain height, width and times height, or width times length times width. So usually they will say by. If they say, if we see the, especially with dimensions, area, rectangle, octagon, whatever measurement that we are given, if we see by, doubling values, each group, every one, or the factor of, increased by, multiplied by. Usually we see the words of when we are dealing with persons, and product, the product of, uh, times, triple, twice, and so on. That should trigger the concept of multiplication. For division, we are looking at as much as uh, cut up. Each group has equal sharing, half, shorter fractions, how many in each group, whatever parts per percent, quotient of, ratio, or separated share or something equally. Those should be a trigger, something that we see when we are dealing with division. So again, wording matters, and the way it is written, it matters. So as an example, if I'm looking at addition and if I'm looking at multiplication, even though this is not a license to go ahead and make a mistake, but addition and multiplication are a little bit forgiving. 5 plus 3, 8. 3 plus 5, also 8. Yes, when I translate it, I have to be very careful, but even if I made a silly mistake, then the answer should be okay, and addition is forgiving. If I say 5 times 3, that would be 15. 3 times 5, that also is 15. So the same thing. Multiplication also is, order is forgiving. So again, not an excuse to make a mistake, but just for the understanding sake. Subtraction, 12 Take away 3 is 9. 3 take away 12, completely opposite, which is -9. Actually, it is not even close. Usually students and everybody try to plead their case. I only forgot the negative. Oh, I made a mistake and I put the negative. I was so close. Actually, you are twice as far away from the answer, which means how far are we away from the number 9? Number 9 is here. I don't know if you can see this. From 0 to 9 is here. -9 is actually twice away from the answer, from 9 to 0. And then on the other side, I have to go all the way to -9. So actually, it is twice away from the answer. In other words, the best way to understand it is if you have $500 on your bank account, and instead of $500, if they send you a letter saying your account is showing as -500, you didn't lose 500. Actually, you lost 1,000. What I'm saying is, if you were supposed to be $500 right here, but now they are telling you you are -500. You are not just, a difference is not the negative sign. The difference is actually a whole 1,000 numbers, which means to pass 0 from here to here, you lost 500, and then now you're in debt additional 500. So altogether, you are down by -1,000. So it's not just a negative sign, it is you're doubled away from the answer. So careful when you're dealing with subtraction and negative signs. Okay, in division, 12 divided by 3, the answer would be 4, and then 3 divided by 12 is equal to 1/4. If you want to see it this way, sorry, 12 divided by 3 is 4/1. If we see 3 divided by 12, it is 1/4. If you are trying to get paid, the difference over here, or if you go to a store and your change is supposed to be $4, and if they gave you 25 cents, that's a difference. So which is like, order matters. One is $4, the other one is just like 25 cents. It's a huge difference between the two values. Again, we're not even looking at big numbers. It is something that we have to be very careful with this. Any questions so far? I'm not sure if anybody's still here. All right, walk me through. What are the answers? In other words, what I'm looking for is, thank you, Monique, Natasha. All right, number 1, what is the process if I am 3 plus 5 is equal to 8? What is the process? Somebody turn on your mic or write something. Thank you, Treasure. What do we call the process? Number one, what's the process? Okay, this is math 141. I need somebody to say something. 3 plus 5. What is that process called?
Addition.
All right, thank you. If I'm adding, what do I get? What do we call this? The process is called addition. The answer is called what?
The sum.
Thank you. Second one, what is the process called?
Subtraction.
And the answer is called, if I subtract two numbers, what do I get?
The sum.
The sum is, when I'm adding, I get the sum.
The
If I
product.
subtract, say it again.
The product.
The product is right here.
The difference.
Bingo. So when we subtract two values or more, whatever, we get the difference. And the number three, the process is called
Multiplication.
multiplication. And 20, the answer is called what?
Product.
The product.
Gotcha. And then we have the process for number 4 is what?
Division.
Division. If I divide two values, what do I get?
Quotient.
The quotient. So again, we have to be very clear when it comes to this type of questions. In word translation, the lingo matters, because they're not going to tell us, oh, if you add a number, and so they will say the sum of a number, or they will say the difference of a number and a number in something. So they're not going to tell us this is actually if you multiply, if you divide, if you subtract, if you add. They're not going to use that term. The terms that are going to be usually used will be, it will be the sum, the difference, the product, and the quotient. Again, these are the type of things that we want to be seeing. Anything that's not clear, please take something. All right, help me here. Let's translate these. 11 more than a number would be what?
X plus 11.
X plus 11. Proper way would be what? 11.
Plus X.
11 more than would be addition, and number would be X. This is the proper way that we should write it. But again, as I said it earlier, addition is forgiving if you write X plus 11, nothing wrong. But when we are looking at 11 more than, then this would be more than a number must exist for me to add that value. So the second way would be, this would be the right way to write it, but addition is a little bit forgiving. Number two would be what?
X minus 10.
A number is x, thank you. Decreased by would be subtraction. 10 would be the correct one. Order matters over here. Number three.
X divided by 9.
Read it again.
Nine times X.
It should be multiplication because product means what? The product of is multiplication. 9 and a number. So usually when you see and, the multiplication sign goes where the and sign is. So it will be 9 times x, or 9x, or 9 times x, parentheses is fine. Number four. Four and five, help me.
Ten times x.
10 times x would be right over here. 10 times a number, so it will be 10 times x, or 10x. Number five. 5 and 6, somebody give me 5, somebody give me 6.
Is it X multiplied by 3?
Which is? Go ahead.
Huh?
Over here, a number, we don't know.
It's a number
X
X
multiplied by,
by
so it's going
3.
to be, so you can say x3, it doesn't matter if you write that way, or 3x would be the proper way of writing it because we write numbers and letters after.
Okay.
Number 6. Somebody brave. Number 6.
One-fourth x.
1/4. So 1/4 of is multiplication, and number would be x. So nothing wrong if you left it this way, or you can write it as x over 4, since 1 times x is x. But I prefer the left one because that's the steps are right there. Number 7.
X divided by 6.
The quotient, thank you, of a number and 6. So we have x, 6, and it is division. Divisions, whatever things, usually it takes where exactly where the word says and. So it'll be x divided by 6, or you can say x divided by 6 as a fraction. You can write it down. All right, so these, what we are looking at over here, they're not that bad, which is we are just translating them, and some of them, they will require actually solving them because there's additional information. All right, let's look at these. Number 9 would be what?
5 times x is 25.
So give me the mathematical language.
5 times 5 is 25.
So we have the product representing multiplication sign, and then we have and a number, which is, we have number 5, we have x, and number x, they already told us actually over here, is, and 25 is right there. So usually this takes place right there. So we have 5 times x is equal to 25. If we had to solve it, then we divide by 5, and so we'll look at that one. A little tricky, but not that big deal. The next one will be what?
Um, x times x is 50.
Say it again.
X times x is 50.
X, it says what? 10 times a number, x.
Oh, I thought it was like the number 10.
Oh, no,
9, 10, 11.
it was number 10. Actually, was starting with number 10. So
Oh.
got it. Got you. Is, over here it says greater than. So actually this greater, it's a little tricky one. Greater than or equal to is, so tell me what to write. Ten times a number, so it would be 10 times a number x is greater than, so equal is usually would be equal to, but greater than or equal to, it would be greater than or equal to, greater than or equal to 50 would be, listen, number 11.
13 minus x equals 7.
13 minus x, okay, so the difference between, so we're talking about subtraction. We have the first number, and number is another one. The word and is right there. That should take place where the and is. This one should be equal sign and that. So it would be 13. The difference between 13 and a number x is equal to all right, let's look at these three. Number 12 will be what?
Is 2 plus x equals 4?
A number increased. So I don't know what that number is. So a number increased would be,
x plus 2 equals 4.
that would be correct. The next one is what?
2 times x is 4.
2, and would be multiplication. A number x is equal to 4.
14 is X minus 4 equals 2.
So we have x minus 4 equals 2. Mm. (16 and 17).
20 plus x is 30.
So we're looking at the sum of 20 and a number is 30. So it would be 20, thank you, plus unknown number is equal to 30. 17 would be what?
X plus 10. And then you can do the greater sign and then equal and then put 44.
Say it one more time.
X plus 10 and then you do the greater sign and then
So
equal 44.
a number increased by 10 is what? Is greater than or equal to. So it would be unknown number increased by 10 greater than or equal to. This is just a little bit order. All right, how do you write this if you try to convert it?
X times 0.1 equals $5.
So it says, okay, got it. To begin with, it says you make a long distance telephone call. At this time, I don't think it makes sense to you guys, because unless you have somebody outside of US where you have to make a phone call, I don't think with this unlimited telephone plans that we have, these type of questions usually at this time, I don't think that makes sense to you guys. But depending if you have to make a phone call to outside of US, then your rate is depending by minutes and so on, right? So over here it says the rate is given by, for each minute, based on what we looked at earlier, each minute, it is kind of a multiplication. And multiplication of what? It's going to be 10 cents times every minute. The rate is going to be 10 cents for each minute. The total cost, total should remind us, the final is, the total cost of the phone call is $5. And then this is additional question. So first thing first, we need to know how to set up here. This portion we have to worry about How do I set up this? Somebody said, I'm so sorry, who was the total cost should be what? How can I write this one? I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Isn't it
The total cost was how much?
$5.
$5, right? It was because of what?
the 10 cent each minute?
Yeah.
So that was caused because it became $5 because the person made a call and paid 10 cents for each what?
Minute.
Minute, right? So if we set it up this way, that would be first you are setting up the question, and now it says how long was the call, which means how many minutes. So in other words, I can go ahead and divide it by 0.10, divided by 0.10. You can use your calculators, or if you want to think about it, a dollar has how many dimes? It would be 10, 10, 10. You have 10 of them. $2 would be 20, $3 would be 30, $4 would be 40, and $5 would be what? 50 minutes. So the person spoke for 50 minutes at the rate of 10 cents, then that makes that would be the right way to write the question. And says over here that check to see if your solution is reasonable. That if you multiply 10 times 50, would you get $5? That would be true. All right, how do we set it up over here? The area of a rectangle is less than or equal to 50 square meters. The length of the rectangle is 3 times the width of the rectangle. Let's go ahead and say, instead of less than, just keep it. Okay. What do we know? If we don't know, remember earlier when I say 4 plus 6 is equal to 10, and you are able to convert it because you recognize something. Over here, what are we talking about?
The rectangle.
Rectangle. So
Area of it.
Say it again.
And the area of it.
Okay. So if we are talking about rectangle, what is a rectangle? Right? Yes, no.
Yeah.
So when we are talking about rectangle, I have to understand this should be in the back of my mind. I should be able to think, okay, when they say rectangle, I need to know it is a four-sided figure, right? It's a four-sided figure, and there are two things about rectangle, which is if we are talking about, come on, home, insert row, whatever. All right. Two things can happen when we are talking about rectangle. If we are talking about area, given that this is length and this is width, right? Area is given by length times width. Should be something that should be an that I always remember. Or the other one is perimeter. Perimeter is given by, it's almost like if I have a string from here, and then if I go this way, that way, and come back over here, the length of that distance is called perimeter around. So for me to have a perimeter, it will be I have one length, another length over there, and I have W over here. So perimeter is given by 2 length plus 2W. So at this time, they're talking about area, so I don't have to worry about the perimeter portion of a rectangle. So we're not going to focus on this side. We are going to be focusing on the area. So the area of a rectangle is equal to 50 square meters. Bingo. So area is given by, this is 50 is equal to length times width. What else? Somebody help me with the second line. The length of the rectangle is 3 times the width of the rectangle. How can I write that one? Somebody, come on. There are 14 people. I want one brave soul. The rectangle, the length of the rectangle is, let's break it down.
So if the length is y and the width is x, would it be y3 parentheses x?
Oh, okay, good, but let's stick with the original variables that are given, right? So if the length is right over here, the length of the rectangle is what? So we're talking about if L is, because they told us is, right? And what do we know? Is what?
It's 3 times the width.
It is 3 times. So if L represents the length, and then the other one would be what? Is 3 times
W.
W. Did they say anything about W? No, W is equal to just W. We don't know. So that's a question mark. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So based on this information that is given over here, I can write the equation for the area using the dimensions given. So it's supposed to be, area is supposed to be, area is given by length times width, but area is given by 50 is equal to L can be rewritten with 3W, but they didn't tell us anything about W. W would be that. So if you try to simplify it, it would be 50 is equal to 3W squared, because W times W, it would be W squared. So that would be a way to leave our answer. If the question was just write the equation, that would be it. But if I have to solve this problem a little bit harder, just divided by 3, divided by 3, it would be 50 divided by 3, whatever that number is, equals to W squared. And then we have to go ahead and take the square root, take the square root. That will be our way to solve the answer. So 50 divided by 3, it would be 16 and 2/3, I believe. It would be 16 and 2/3 is equal to W and whatever that number is. So the square root of, so will be 4 point something it would be the width. The square root of 16 would be 4. Since it's a little bit more, it would be 4 point something. It would be W. Again, I'm more worried about setting up the question rather than solving the problem at this time. Let's just go ahead and look at this. So let's go ahead, and the square root of 50 divided by 3, 4 point something, that was correct. Okay. Let's continue. What does this mean? Consecutive integers.
Numbers that are next to each other.
So the best way to understand would be, it is so if I say so this one, we call it consecutive integers, right? So they are back-to-back numbers. Unless I made a mistake, that should be fine. If I say what would be the answer? Oh, what's the difference? All right, somebody help me here.
$46, $48.
The first one, top.
Oh. 43, 44, 45.
So since they starting with, it would be 43, 44, and 45 would be my answer, right? The next one would be what?
Uh, 44, 45, 46.
Next one?
46, 47, 48.
So this time it says even, so, and it's starting with that number, so it would be 46, 48, and 50,
And
right?
50.
All right, so what about if I change it a little bit and it will be what?
$43, 45, 47.
So since it says starting with, it would be 43. The next odd number would be 45. The next one will be 47, right? Okay.
I'm sorry. Can you please repeat that?
The sum of three consecutive integers is 33. What are they? Again, I'm not interested in guessing. I'm interested in properly how do we write this? What do we know? What is given? So from understanding the question, what can we do?
You can divide 33 and by 3.
Okay. Again, that would be a little bit of what do you call it? A guessing approach, or it's okay to start like that, but I don't mind if you are able to get your answer that way. But for understanding sake, let's go ahead and try to attempt it, okay? So over here it says, one thing that we know is what? It says the sum of, right? The sum of what? There are three numbers. And those three numbers, what is the nature of those three numbers? They are
Consecutive integers.
consecutive integers, right? So they are telling us a little bit about how to set up this. So definitely they are telling us that the answer is going to be that value. So if I try to go back and set up this question, I don't know those three numbers. So I'm going to call the first one X plus the next one, I don't know the next one, I'm going to call it Z. Altogether, X plus Y and Z is going to be what? 33. So we don't know the numbers yet. So now, based on this information, this tells me they are consecutive, meaning if X is just X, Y will be what? Since they are consecutive, they are back to back. If X is, let's say, 5, Y will be what? X plus 1, which is going to be 6. Then it will be, I have to say this must be X plus 1. Then the next number, if X is 5, the next number must be what? X plus 2. So based on this information, I'll go ahead and rewrite this. What is X? X is just X plus what is Y? I'm going to write it as X plus 1 plus what is Z? Z is X plus 2. Altogether, I'm hoping that's going to be 33. So now by looking at like terms, X will be 3x plus 1 plus 2 would be 3, altogether 33. Then if I take 33 to the other side, which means take away 3, equally take away 3 from both sides, we end up with 3x is equal to 30. And based on what we did from the other day, by inverse, the inverse of 3. So if I try to squeeze it a little bit, x is equal to, so what is my answer? X is 10. Actually, that's not my answer because the question says over here it says what? What are they? Which means I have to come back to what I set up over here. All I found at this time is just x. So if x is 10, 10 plus 1 would be 11, and then 10 plus 2 would be 12. My answers are going to be 10, 11, and 12 would be my answer. So the way we set it up is first, we go ahead and break it down. then we move on from that. All right, just for time's sake, let's go ahead and look at another problem right here. The sum of three consecutive, let's modify it a little bit. So similar to what we just looked at earlier, again, we are looking at sum, and they are three, and we know they are consecutive, but this time we know they are consecutive integers that are odd, and all, I hope I didn't make a mistake, and the answer would be 69. So since I don't know what they are, all I care about at this time, there are three of them. I'm going to name them x plus y plus z is equal to 69. What do I know? They are what is x, what is y, and what is z. If x is just x, y would be, since they are consecutive odd, they are apart by 2 by 2 by 2, this will be x plus 2. The next number will be x plus 4. Think about it. As an example, if I say uh, 5 is an odd number, the next number will be plus 2. It will be 7. The next number plus 2, it will be 9. The next number plus 2, it will be 11. So from here to here is by 2, by 2, by 2. But in reference to 5, 7 is just plus 2. In reference to 5, 9 is plus 4. In reference to 5, 11 is plus 6, and so on. So since we are dealing with three numbers, if the first one is just x, the next one will be plus 2. The next one will be plus 4. If there was another number, it would be plus 6, and so on. So if I try to replace this, it would be just x plus, this would be x plus 2 plus, and this would be x plus 4. Altogether, 69. So let's go ahead, combine like terms, x, it would be 3x. And then we have 2 and 4 altogether would be 6 is equal to 69. And then if I take the 6 to the other side, which means take away 6, equally take away 6 from both sides, we should end up with 3x is equal to 63. Make a little bit faster, divided by 3, divided by 3. If I go to the right, x is equal to 21. So don't get carried away thinking that you're done. We are not done, because the question is not saying what is the smallest number. It says what are they. So I have to go back and plug it back into my setup. The first one is the only one that I have over here, 21. 21 plus 2, it becomes 23. 21 plus 4, it becomes 25. So my answer must be 21, 23, and 25 are my answers. Any question? Okay, I need to stop the recording.